Hola y bienvenidos a Invertir como un profesional. Una tarde más aquí en directo, como siempre. Hoy toca entrevista, una entrevista muy interesante. Ya sabéis que en este canal diré que es el único canal de España y del sur de Europa donde pues, realizamos entrevistas a CEOs, a CFOs de compañías interesantes. Hoy tenemos al CFO de LNA Santé, Damien Billard, que ya lo veo conectado. Vale, compañía muy interesante, catalogada como valor, con un negocio muy estable, poco cíclico, por tanto vamos a hablar del negocio. Dejarme comentar antes el disclaimer. Bueno, voy a dar paso a Damien. Damien, hello, how are you?
Hello, sorry, thank you, fine, and you?
Okay, thank you for accepting this invitation to this interview, so thank you. Let me read the disclaimer before, because as you know, we have to read all the disclaimers here. So, Invertir como profesional no ofrece ningún servicio de inversión, no ofrece asesoramiento financiero. Cualquier opinión aquí expresada, en este caso por mí, también es siempre con carácter totalmente educativo y nunca debéis interpretar esta información como una señal para comprar o para vender valores. Invertir como profesional does not offer an investment, does not type of personalized financial advice. All opinions or analysis expressed here by the instructors, or in this case from Damien, just for educational nature, and should not be interpreted as a confirmation to buy or sell securities. Okay, so Damien, thank you again for accepting these invitations. The idea is to spend 45 minutes, more or less, with a general interview, so with some questions, and at the end of the interview, we can make some questions from the people that is going to connect to the live, right? So,
Perfect.
LNA Santé is a family company with more than 60% of the shares controlled by a shareholder agreement, of which founding families are still the main shareholders.
Yep.
Jean-Paul Siret is still in the board right now, and she's 71, and she's the founder of the company. I think that some of his family, his son is in the company. So can you start with a brief description of what is LNA Santé?
Of course. So we are a global health operator in France. To start our discussion, I'm happy to hear you present LNA Santé as a family company. This is a key point, and maybe a unique case today, since many groups, have been bought by investment funds over the last 10 years. So we are particularly attached to our roots at Nantes, and one of our strengths is our territorial anchoring. Concerning the succession, you speak about our founder, Jean-Paul Siret. The succession is already in place with the general management, which is ensured today by his son, Willy Siret, as a CEO. His father, Jean-Paul, no longer has an executive function. He chairs the board, but he has no executive function, and myself as deputy general manager. You have to keep in mind that one of our singularity is to onboard in our adventure a large part of our employees, because 25% of our employees are involved in this adventure and hold more than 10% of the capital.
I like especially this point that when blue collar employees has shares of the company, you said that 25%. So could you explain how you split this percentage against employees? Or there are a plan to gain access to the shares, or how is working?
There are two ways of being involved in the adventure. We have issued shares 2 years ago, where 700 people join a holding company called LNA Together. And LNA together gathers 700 employees. It concerns nurses, it concerns caregivers, it concerns doctors. So all professionals represented in this holding company, and this holding companies holds 8% of the capital. It was at that time an investment of 47 million euros. So it's a huge amount, and it's a very a collective approach. And we have a second way to be involved. This is through a general scheme. We distribute a part of our result each year, and employees, whatever their status, can inject this distribution into a collective scheme, and it represents at the moment 1% of the capital. So we have two ways to join the capital in our company.
I think this is a huge advantage because, as you talked before, that you are the only family-owned business in France. So if you take a Korean and this kind, they are funded from. So the ownership is the funds, but at the same time, the employees of these companies, they don't have shares, right? They don't have access to shares.
Exactly.
That's good. So let me explain. So can you split your 4 divisions in easy words in just 2-3 minutes, please?
For sure. LNA Santé, as I said before, is a global health operator. It means we on a daily basis, we take care of fragile people due to their old age, and of people suffering from pathologies due to life accidents or chronic illnesses. So our group is made up of nursing homes with 44 facilities to date, which represent 40% of turnover. I remind you that our turnover is on a yearly basis close to 750 million euros. So we have this first business line constituted of nursing homes. And we undertook a health shift at the end of the years 2010 in post-surgery rehabilitation. At the present time, we operate 20 clinics, which represent 45% of our turnover. And we have entered a new business in 2010 with our first structure in hospital care at home. And we have known a very huge growth rate in this business. We have now 10 structures in hospital care at home, and they represent 10% of our turnover. We are mainly present in France for 95% of turnover. We have an international presence in 2 geographies, in Belgium, in nursing home business, and in Poland, in rehab clinics. And the second activity we have, but this is an accessory activity, this is the real estate business. To be clear, it's an accessory to the operating business, and it corresponds.
You can see the screen, Damien, right now.
Exactly, correct. And this real estate business corresponds to the work in progress we carry out as part of the transformation process, because this is one of our singularities in France, and I think in Europe. We are an industrial player, and our strategy is to transform the health offer. So it means when we acquire a target, we try to make it evolve in a strong way by medicalize the structure, by increasing the size of the facility. And this process is unique in France, and let us transform the facilities and reach a cruising regime, which is highly performant in terms of margin and in terms of medicalization standards.
Okay. Before going with more detail with the segments and divisions, Damien, could you talk a little bit about the competitive environment? So first, in terms of demand, so the demand for beds, is it high? Because most of the time there are more old people that they need beds. So can you talk a little bit how is about the demand in France and how it's evolving and how do you expect to evolve in the future?
Okay. Our competitive environment is made of a large presence of the private sector, which represents 30% of the existing offer. This sector, of course, private sector has been impacted by the Orpea affair, but for us, it's an advantage. We don't see any impact at the present time of this affair. On the opposite, we have high occupancy rates, which are close to their historical level. So it means for our nursing homes, average occupancy rate is 90%, 95% at the present time, compared to a level of 88% for the global market. And in post-acute clinics, the occupancy rate is close to 100%.
So do you think LNA Santé is gaining market share because with the scandal, Orpea and little bit Korean, they lose market share? So do you think that?
Correct. So I think we are seen by the sector as a very professional operator, very serious, and we take advantage. You're correct. From the Orpea affair. And one of our main competitor is the public sector and associations, which represent 70%. And their presence tends to decrease, and particularly in the nursing home sector. Why? Because hospitals in France hold more than 10% of the supply, and they wish to disengage, to refocus on their surgery activity for modernizations and ambulatory shift needs. So we are particularly active in this sector because we have developed some specific offers to let these hospitals disengage from their accessory activities like nursing homes.
Let's talk about the supply and the demand of the market. So you start talking about the supply. So you said that 70% of the market is public, so it's controlled by the government. So what's the idea of the government for the next 5 years? So they want to decrease this percentage because France was in deficit and they don't want to spend in the creating new beds. So they think that the private sector is the perfect tool to increase the offer here. So what's the opinion of the government?
The government meets great difficulties in terms of financing this sector. So there are their own difficulties with the public facilities. So they have no more money to invest in this sector. And the problem we meet in particularly in the nursing home business is the aging of the facilities. In France, to give you a global picture of the situation, in France, more than 50% of the facilities have an age over 35 years. and to be clear, nursing homes, which was created 35 years ago, is no more effective for modern needs. So they need to be rebuilt, and the state has, of course, no money for that. So it's the perfect scheme for us to disengage this sector. And we are fully compliant with associations and public, because we are a family company, and we are in close relationship with this kind of sector. And just to give you a concrete example, more than 30% of our development comes from this sector by disengaging public actors and associations.
So we have a supply that is controlled by the government, but the government wants to decrease this percentage because they cannot finance this amount of money that they need to build new beds. And at the same time, the facilities are really old, so they need to rebuild. And the government don't want to do that. So it thinks that supply
and just to illustrate that, the impact. The effort that the French state should release if they want to rebuild their public facilities is close to 30 billion euros. So you imagine in France, the French state has no money for that.
Okay, and also the main competitors are losing market share, and your company is gaining market share. So the reason because Korean and Orpea go out of France and they start to internalize the business is I suppose, is to decrease the risk of France, right?
Yeah, correct.
So it seems that in terms of supply, all it works. So this is the perfect scenario to start to grow because the supply is constrained, right?
Exactly. And we have an additional advantage, which comes from the pressure at the present time, because, inflation has induced some difficulties for the most fragile actors. And we see at the moment in France some situation where companies, and like you say, Clariane, for example, one of the two large competitors in France, we see them meeting great difficulties, and we are very confident with the perspective for the coming years to consolidate the market by acquiring targets under better conditions, means at a price which that should be lower than the historical situation. So we are very confident about the way to consolidate the market at good conditions.
Okay, let's talk about demand. Could you talk a little bit about which one is the demand in France, how many beds there are, how many beds France need for the next 5 years? So could you talk a little bit because the demand here is high. So could you talk about that?
Yeah, of course. So we have to separate between among the three business lines. So if I start with the nursing home business, we are in a business covering 600,000 beds in France. The needs for the 10 coming years is a need for more than 50,000 additional beds due to the aging of populations. But keep in mind that the main trend is to transform the existing offer. So you have, of course, a good perspective with these additional beds, but the main trend will come from the transformation and the restructuring of the existing network. So that's a good perspective for nursing home. If you take into consideration the post-acute business, so activity after a surgery, we have a market in France which is close to 90,000 beds, and we have a good perspective.
This
Yes?
is the offer today? Damien, 90,000 beds is the offer today?
Yeah, this is the offer today. And we don't see an increase in terms of number of beds. What we are expecting for the coming years, this is a transformation of the existing offer. I think you have the same situation in Spain. This is the ambulatory shift, means people don't want to stay for a long period in post-acute clinics. So you have to develop ambulatory offer. So this is one of the main change in France, and the medicalization of structures. Why medicalization? Because at the present time, the average length of stay in hospital in France is close to 2 days. If you look back to 10 years ago, the average stay was close to 7 days. So because people don't stay for a long period in hospital, you receive patients with a very large need for medicalization. So you have to adapt your own clinics to be more medicalized, to accept patients who need some additional care. So it's I think there is this ambulatory shift and this need for additional medicalization.
Okay.
And concerning the third business, which is hospital care at home, we are on a very, very dynamic market. Our historical growth rate is close to 35% per year. For the last 3 years, it was close to 20%. We have no limitation in terms of growth, because compared to the to nursing home business and post-acute business, where you are limited in your capacity, in the hospital care at home business, you are free to develop your offer on the geographical area. So it's that's why we have an organic growth which is particularly high.
Okay. Is there any regulation that's going to change in the next quarter's future? So are you expecting something, or all things are known?
There is no big change. Maybe one opportunity I can focus this evening concerns the hospital care at home business, because we are facing at the moment a renewal of all of our authorizations in this business. And because we have to renew, this is an administrative approach, because we have to renew this authorization, we take advantage of this to propose additional services and to request for additional authorizations. So we expect in the coming months the gain of new authorization in this business, and it should fulfill a reservoir of growth for the coming years. So we are fully confident in the hospital care at home business due to this renewal of authorizations.
Okay. As the supply is 70% public, it makes it easy to grow for your company buying licenses to the public system, right?
Correct.
So do you think that because LNA Santé has a family business, it's not involved in scandals like Korean, so you are gaining more traction than the other competitors? Because if you take out the equation Korean and Orpea, there are more players. So
yes,
could you talk a little bit about the other players?
Yeah, I think you're correct. If you want to address the public sector to consolidate your offer, so to disengage this sector, you have to meet some competitive advantages. And I think that our family company presents very interesting advantages like a long-term governance, like a managerial practice, which is very active. We have a high medicalized expertise and a risk management approach, which is fully secure for the public sector. I have insisted by introducing the company. It's very important to have a track record in terms of transforming the offer. We are fully compliant and fully able to transform the public offer, because for now, I think 20 years, we have restructures a large part of the sector, and we are fully we have all the skills in our headquarters to transform the existing offers. So all this constitute our singularities and makes us very different compared to Orpea and Clariane, for example.
Do you think that the KPI that describes your advantage against competitors is the occupancy rate? Because your occupancy rates, as you talked before, is it higher than your competitors? So do you have some internal targets for 24 and beyond for occupancy rates?
Yes, it is one of the way to see our competitive advantage, but you can see it on different ways. I think that we have margin level which are over the average of the market. If you take into consideration that we don't own our property, and I will explain maybe in more details this situation, this approach. If you compare our EBITDA margin after lease, we have, I think, a better level of margin compared to other competitors. And I think we have a risk approach which is very different. So all our buildings are new. We have a ratio of staff to patient which is higher than the rest of the sector. We have an average, if I give you an example, in the nursing home business, the ratio of staff is 1 people for 1 resident, when the sector has an average under 0.6. So it's really a big advantage.
Okay. Could you explain a little bit how you fix the price? So the price that you receive for the beds, you have to business, the comfort and the elegance.
Yeah.
So could you talk a little bit, because I like to understand how you fix the price, because most of the price is paid by the government. So can you split the price to reach, for example, the price per night is, I don't know, 130 euros. So can you split the price?
Okay, no problem with that. We have to separate between the 3 business lines. Concerning the nursing homes, that's the sense of your questions. The price of accommodation is free when the room is renewed, so at the time of the death of the resident's death, and during the stay, the increase is regulated by public authorities. So globally speaking, you are free to fix the price of accommodation in the nursing home business. In other businesses, so in post-acute clinics, the price depends on the specialization. So if, for example, you propose oncology services or geriatry services or pneumology services, of course, the price depends, and this is a price financed by the health insurance system, and it depends on the specialty. And in hospital care at home, it's quite the same situation. You have a single financer, which is the French state, the French health insurance system. and the price depends on the length of the stay and on the pathologies for which you organize the care. So you have an average price that can be very extensive. It can be 100 euros per day and can be 700 per day. Just if I come back to the nursing home business, you speak about two ranges. You're correct. In the nursing home business, we have implemented two different hotel ranges. One is called the comfort range, and this is an offer for people that can't afford a high price. So generally speaking, we offer a lower price by 25% at an average of 70 euros per day. So the family pays this price for the accommodation price. And in our elegance range, we welcome residents at a rate of 95 euros per day. So you see a difference of tariff close to 25% between these both ranges.
LNA Santé is going to receive all this money per night?
What do you mean by receive money?
So if there are one people that use the elegance in average is 95 euros per night, right? So your company is receiving all this money per night?
Correct. And you have two other sections. The care section, which is financed by the French insurance system and which is close to 35 euros per day. And you have to justify all revenues received from the French insurance system. So you have to justify by your expenses, you have to justify these funds you received. So you can't earn money on the care section. And you have a third section, which is called in France the dependency section. And this section is financed by region in France. And it's the same situation that for care, you have to justify all funds received given by the region. So you earn money on the accommodation price paid by the family.
Okay, you said that there are no regulation in price, so the market is free price. So there are too much difference from companies in the price per night?
Yes, but globally speaking, the private sector covers the equivalent of the elegance range at LNA Santé. So they are more active on the business for people with money. They are less active on the comfort range. That's why we have developed this hotel offer because we have less pressure on this market. And as I explained before, this is a perfect range to disengage hospitals because at the present time, hospitals in France offer an accommodation price which is close to 60 euros. So if they want to disengage, you can imagine that they will not arrange with Orpea because Orpea will change the price and will increase very significantly the price. That's why we have developed this comfort range to make the bridge between the previous offer by hospitals and the existing offer at LNA Santé by respecting and by maintaining the accommodation price for families.
Are you disclosing, public disclosing for the split against comfort and elegance beds in the nursing business? Are you disclosing this number?
Yes, we are disclosing this number. And we are very free to do it because we know that the main growth segment will come from this restructuring of the public sector. So we are, of course, pleased to discuss with hospitals, with public authorities, about this offer, because it is disruptive and it is a competitive advantage one more time.
So most of the growth here in nursing beds could be from the comfort business, right?
Correct. In the coming years, I think it will be the case.
Today the split, can I say it's 50-50 or so?
No, at the moment the proportion is 20% is in the comfort range sector, and 80% of our network in the elegance range. Why is this difference? Because historically we were present in the elegance range, and the shift to comfort range was as applied 10 years ago. So there is still a predominant presence of the elegance range.
So you can, because there are a 25 euros difference from one price to the other, you think that with volume, to take more people, you can compensate this effect, right?
Of course. And for the family, you imagine that the gap is important, because when you speak about a gap of a difference of 25 or 30 euros per day, it means at the end of the month, it's close to 900 euros. So it's, of course, very significant for families.
Okay, can you talk a little bit about the real estate business? So you have the real estate in your balance sheet for 1 year, 2 years, then you sell to institutional. So can you explain how it works, this business model?
Yes. We have a singularity in this business. The singularity comes from the fact that we don't want to own property, but we want to control the conception and the building of our facilities. So we have internalized in our company the whole value chain of real estate know-how. We have more than 50 people working for building real estate and distributing assets to external investors. So we control all the change from design to marketing of works to maintenance of equipment. But at the end, we don't want to be the owner of assets. Why? Because we are a family company, and we don't want to inject a lot of money, a lot of capital in the real estate business. It's not our strategic business line. But to control the building, we need to have all the skills at LNA Santé. So it's one of the singularity of our group, and we sell the real estate assets to individuals at cost price and under excellent conditions compared to big institutional investors. We offer at the present time a yield to investors which is close to 4.3%. And if we had to sell our assets to institutional investors, the rent offered will be close to 6%. So these individual investors are an opportunity for us to limit the rental effort rate. And of course, this is an advantage for the OpCo business.
When you say individual investor, are you referring a family or something like that?
Well, or people like you or me, or that can invest for a private room. I don't know, a ticket of, for example, 100,000 euros or 150,000 euros. You invest in room with a part of the common spaces. And generally, when we sell a facility to external investors, we sell it to 60 or 70 people. And we have all the skills at LNA Santé to run the relationship with these external investors. At the present time, we are in relationship with more than 4,000 investors.
Also are all from France, or they are international?
The main part of investors are, yes, French investors.
In the last 2 years, have you seen more longer selling times from these investors because the interest rates go up? So how is affecting the business here?
Not at all. To be honest, this is one of the questions I have at the moment, because many investors make an extrapolation of the situation of Orpea and Clariane to LNA Santé, and I think it's a wrong extrapolation. The fact that we had in 2023 a lower level of turnover in this segment has no relationship with. We have no difficulties to externalize these assets. It's just a question of programmation. We have a process of transforming facilities, and we have achieved in 2022 many programs. So we have to launch new operations, and the cycle was very low in 2023, and we restart a new dynamic in 2024. So we are fully confident, and we don't need any difficulties in externalizing. We have a strong basis of investors, of private investors, and we have one more time all skills, because we have one of our subsidiary, Fidexi, which is very active in distributing assets on the market. So we have a main competitive advantage compared to Orpea and Corian. If you take the example of Clariane, they have 3 people in their real estate department, compared to LNA Santé, where we are 50 people controlling all the value chain.
Okay, let me talk a little bit about the outlook for 24. You said that you have at least 10,326 beds that split with cruising speed and non-mature. And you talk about an organic growth of 4.5 over 750 million to remain below 2 times operating leverage. I understand that this number is out before leases, right? And excluding potential M&A. So what about the margin? So you are not disclosing margins, but in terms of profitability, do you expect you can recover something?
If we start with turnover, in terms of organic growth, we have a good perspective for each business line. So they should grow with a minimum of organic growth of 4.5%. We are always very reasonable in the figures we communicate to the market, so we are fully confident with this guidance. I think that we should be able to, of course, to overperform this guidance. In terms of margin, we are quite cautious because we have at the moment an inflation rate which is quite high in France. So I'm quite cautious about the communication about margins. What we expect for 2024 is a stabilization of the level of margin after 2 years of decreasing, because we have met, like all the sector in France, a pressure on the margin due to inflation of salaries in our business lines. What I expect for 2024, this is a new dynamic in terms of external growth. I'm fully confident due to this pressure of environment and due to the inflation. You see many difficulties in the public sector in France and in the private sector too. So I think that there will be, in the coming months, a good opportunity to consolidate these segments. So I have no problem with the a light decrease of margin if I can make acquisitions at a better price. And as far as you see the margin under pressure, you can expect a decrease of acquisition price. And this is for us a very important opportunity.
Okay. Is it possible to expect price increases for 2024? So because you said that you have a high inflation at least for the last 2 years, so is it possible to increase price per night in this 2024?
Yes, you're correct. We are free, as we said before, in the nursing home sector. First of all, we have received an accommodation rate indexation, which is fully satisfying for 2024. The French state has decided to allow the private and public sector to allow an increase of accommodation price by more than 5%. So means that for residents present, we can increase their accommodation rate by 5%. And for new residents, we are completely free. And you are correct, because we have high occupancy rate compared to our competitors. We can increase our prices, and 1/2 of our network has been impacted and concerned by this free increase, which is close to 5% too. So we are quite confident about the price effect, the price impact for a nursing home business.
Okay, great. Before going to capital allocation strategy, let me ask you, in your opinion, which one is the best opportunity for your company, and which one is the main risk?
As I said before, the main opportunity is to have a very high visibility on the market, with excuse the expression, but with a Darwinian consolidation process to come. So I think that most fragile operators will have to change will have to sell their business. So we are fully confident about this move in the coming months. And the main risk in our sector is reputational, linked to the exercise of the profession. We take care of very fragile people, but on this point, we are well armed at LNA Santé, due to we have to keep humble, but we are known in France for operational excellence, and this excellence is recognized by public authorities and by all the profession. So we are quite confident, and reputation is not a problem for us.
In a case of recession, how is going to perform your business?
Sorry, can you repeat your question?
Yeah. If we try to imagine that at the end of this year we enter recession, the economy goes to recession, how is going to expected to perform your business?
We're quite insensible compared to the global environment, because the France is aging. There is an impossibility to stay at home for many residents because they are too old to stay at home, and the cost of maintaining resident people at home is high in France. So recession should have no impact for us in terms of business. Our On the opposite, I think that if you, for example, take into consideration the hospital situation in France, the French state needs to make savings, and hospital care at home, for example, is a perfect example of an opportunity for the state to limit the global cost of medical care. Why? Because I give you a very good example. If you stay in France at hospital, if, for example, you have a surgery, the cost of one day at hospital is 4,000 euros. And if you have no surgery, the average cost for a stay of one day is 800 euros. Wow. If you organize the hospital care at home in one of our facilities, or at home in the patient home, the average price is 250 euros. So and you can propose highly medicalized services. For example, we organize oncological care, we organize Parkinson care, we organize very like hospital, but with, of course, a cost very competitive due to the fact that the cost of structure, of course, at home is not the same compared to an hospital. So the French state, of course, wants to develop this care at home. So we are present on very dynamic segment, and I think we are at the right place to take advantage from a recession or a more constraining financial environment.
So in a case of recession, as this business is, most of them is public because the supply is 70% public. So in a recession, the government want to reduce expenses. So is it reasonable to think that your company can gain market share in a recession, right?
Yes, so, I think we can hope that.
Okay, let's talk about capital allocation. So can you explain which one is the capital allocation strategy? First, in terms of dividends.
We need a dynamic distribution policy, but it's not for us a problem or a key point. Why? Because we want to focus on developing the company. So the priority is to increase the size of the company, but distribution policy is relevant and necessary because we need to serve revenues to our patrimonial holdings. So we have a progressive distribution policy, and we expect a progressive higher profit rate. Currently, it is close to, we have a payout ratio close to 26%. We have a target of 35%. So we should have a double advantage, the increase of the payout ratio by, from 26% to 35%. And the second, of course, advantage will be the additional result due to the perspective of net result in the coming years. So this is not a central point, but we pay attention to this distribution policy. And concerning maybe one point about our capital allocation, we have achieved in the first semester of 2023 a share buyback program. We have acquired more than 250,000 shares. It was like a message we want to give to the market about the confidence of the management in the company. It's not really a priority. because it, of course, requires a lot of cash. And we prefer to mobilize our funds to develop the company rather than to acquire shares. So we are not reluctant to do it, but we have to choose our fight, and the priority for the group, of course, is to develop it.
Just a question here. So can you repeat which amount of money do you spend in buybacks?
In 2023, we spent more than 7 million euros. And at the present time, we own our own shares for 4% of the capital. So it means it's close to 400,000 shares, which are detained by the group.
Is it a possibility to renew these buybacks to reach 10%? So you said that this is not your focus, but it's an option, because sometimes to invest in your company at these depreciation levels could be the best investment.
We are industrial players, so my priority is not to develop a patrimonial approach, it's to develop an industrial approach. So I prefer to have 10% of a group which has double, rather than detain 20% of a group without any growth. So our priority is to develop the group. So we will always focus on this. So we can imagine a new share buyback program, but when the market is particularly open to consolidating process, as I explained before, I prefer to wait for acquisitions rather than acquiring our own shares.
Okay, which one is the power in terms of money for M&A?
For developing the group?
Yes, to
buy license. And compared to our competitors, and that's one of the big advantage of the group, because we have refinanced LNA Santé 2 years ago. We are full cash, so we can devote more than 140 million euros to external acquisitions, and this is of course in the present environment a singularity, because no company in France had money to develop their business. So with this envelope of 150 million euros, I'm fully comfortable to respect covenants. Means we have an authorization of a leverage for the OpCo business, which is 4.25 times the EBITDA. At the present time, we have a leverage of 1.8, and with this development program, I should respect a ratio of 3.25. So there is an additional headroom, but at the moment I have to work the liquidity with my bankers. So I don't want to reach the maximum of the ratio authorized by bankers. I have to be reasonable. So we are able to develop the company by respecting all our credit ratios.
Great. I think you are working to be more transparent with investors, to improve your English web version. So I think you are doing steps, no, to improve here. So can you talk a little bit?
You're correct. One of our priority is to improve and to enlarge the presence of LNA Santé at an international level. So it starts with the internet website. So you're correct. We are working on this at the moment, and you should have in the coming weeks some good news with a new space and a new environment that will offer all international investors and access and corporate access to English documentation. So I think we will improve the quality of information delivered to your investors.
That sounds great, because I think the story, it's really clear, is good. So you have some difference against your competitors. Your competitors are not performing as well as your company. So I think most of the things they are doing well. Let me with some questions from the people. So Luis Polindo is asking, are you going to enter Spain? So have you think to make some M&A in Spain? And if you think in Spain, you are thinking about any city, any concrete place? And do you have an opinion on the Spanish market?
Yes, yes, we have a very precise opinion about the Spanish market. To be honest, we have worked with Roland Berger cabinet, which is a strategic cabinet. We have worked with them over the past 3 years to precise the countries where we could imagine implementing LNA Santé. And we have studied the Spanish market. We have retained 6 geographies: Spain, Italy, Portugal, Poland, Netherlands, and Ireland. And we have studied 3 cases in Spain. So we were in negotiation with groups. And the last one ended 1 month ago. And we have decided at the present time to stop the study of the Spanish market due to systemic problem. It comes from, I see 2 factors. First one, it's a huge problem. In Spain, like in France, you need for very highly medicalized care for residents. And the problem of the Spanish market is that the Spanish state and Spanish regions don't finance the medical care. It's financed by families. And it's a problem because families in Spain, like in France, are under constraints, financial constraints. And it's a difficulty because you need to over-medicalize the facilities. And you have a problem in Spain because nursing homes are not enough medicalized. And at the same time, you have a state and regions we are not able to finance the medical part of the stay. So it's a real problem. And the second factor, which explains why we are quite cautious about this market and reluctant at the moment to enter the market, comes from the need for rebuilding. You have a proportion in Spain of double bed rooms, which is particularly high compared to France. If I give you an example, in the LNA Santé network, 98% of our rooms are single rooms. And the COVID period has shown that we need single rooms for sanitary reasons. So you need to invest huge amount of money to rebuild the existing facilities in Spain. And we have the same in France problem. So for these both reasons, we expect some change, and maybe there is a third reason. You are facing at the moment a change in the labor market with new regulations, with an increase of wages, and I have understood that you have a change in the time schedule of people in Spain. So there will, I have understood that you will face in the coming weeks, or maybe some big change in the labor market, and that's why we are quite distant from this at the moment.
Which one could be the most interesting market in Europe out of France?
Italian market is quite interesting. It presents the same. You have, like in Spain, an approach. You have to do region by region, because regulation and capacity of each region is deeply different from one region to another. We approached a group 1 year ago. We were not able to finalize an agreement, but maybe things will change in the coming months. So Italian market is quite interesting. Ireland market is quite interesting in the hospital care at home. The Polish market is particularly dynamic and interesting. It's fully open to private operators and foreign private operators. It's a large market. You have 40 million people living in Poland. We have closed and stopped the study of nursing homes in Poland because families and the state don't finance and are not able to pay for a reasonable accommodation price. But in post-acute clinics, in post-surgery business, you have many things to do in Poland. So we are like entrepreneurs. We are not in a hurry. We have to make things step by step. We are implementing a new business model in Poland, and we are quite confident in the 10 years to come, because this is a market where you are completely free to open new facilities compared to France. In France, you have a regulated market. You can't open new facilities without the authorization of public state. In Poland, it's completely different. So we are implementing a new entrepreneurial business, and I think we should have good news in the coming years.
Okay, Damien, just one question and two questions more for the public, and we are going to finish. So is it an option to reach an agreement with a potential partner that they can make some part of the state of the business and they can help to accelerate the growth? Because it seems that your company has a huge opportunity in France and international, but sometimes to grow, it makes time. So is the company open to a partner?
Yes.
I don't know which
to answer your question, particularly in new geographical areas, like in Poland, because you can accelerate. You're correct. You can accelerate your growth if you cooperate with existing actors on the market. So you're perfectly correct. And in France, it's more a question of money. We can accept a dilution. We are not. It's not a problem for the general management of LNA Santé in France. But I think that our business model is very attractive, and we are quite confident concerning lenders or concerning shareholders to raise money. So I think it's not a problem. But your question is fully relevant on an international basis, because I think that the development of the group on an international basis will require this kind of partnership. You're correct.
I said that because talking with other companies, most of the time I use that they try to expand internationally with partners. Like
yes, it's correct. But it's a case in Poland. We have minority shareholders, but we are in a cooperation with 2 active shareholders. So it's on a small basis because we have only 2 facilities. but it was the way we want to. This is the way we want to develop the platform on the Polish market.
Last two questions. Gerardo is asking, you talked a little bit before, but he asked about what happens if the economy is going to decelerate in the second part of this year. So how is affecting the macroeconomics to your company? So you talk a little bit, but if you want to conclude.
It's not for us, as I said before, we are not sensible to the global environmental, economical environment. Maybe one key element is the interest rate, because we restructure facilities. We need to raise money. We need to lend money. We need and the cost of money, the interest rate, is maybe one element that can accelerate or decelerate the growth of the group. But for other aspects, I think it's not an issue.
Okay. Last question. Carlos Navarro is asking about the business plan in terms of new bets. Let me show the slide. No,
Exactly.
This is your long-term business plan in terms of new bets. No,
correct. But this is the existing network. You have in this slide no additional bets coming from external growth. This is only the organic growth perspective for the group LNA Santé. So it means that at the present time we have 8,000 400 beds fully established, and we have a potential close to 2,000 beds at cruising speed, which are under restructuring at the present time, and that will be fully profitable after their transforming process. So we have two legs. One leg, which is the organic growth leg with this transformation process, and the second leg that will rely on acquisitions. So two reasons to be confident in the perspective of developing the group.
Okay, it's clear. So Damien, if you want to conclude this video call with just 1 minute message.
I want to thank you for organizing this discussion. It's for us one of our priority for the coming months to develop the presence of the group, so we can do it through this kind of discussions, and we will be pleased to meet some investors. So we will be very happy to travel to Spain to meet, if you are interested, of course, to meet investors, and we will be pleased to welcome some potential investors who take interest into the group, to welcome them and to organize some visits in France, because I think it's very important to, of course, to listen to the general management, but to have your own opinion by learning and by meeting our staff in facilities. So be welcome in France, and we will be very pleased if we can meet investors in Spain or in France.
Okay, so I appreciate that, because I used to travel to Paris, so I like sometime if you are available to check the facilities and to understand more about the business. So many thanks, Daniel. Thank you for this video call to share your views with the people. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening. Bye-bye. Thank you all.
Bueno, espero que os haya gustado. Entrevista interesante. Es difícil que ya os aviso, que esta compañía hable en público. Yo creo que es la primera vez que esta compañía habla a un público en un canal de YouTube a nivel europeo, ya no solo de España. Por tanto, muy contento. Al final, ellos también quieren pues tener mayor visibilidad, que pues, los inversores en Europa, en el sur de Europa, en España, en Latinoamérica, pues puedan conocer esta compañía, que es muy interesante, que como veis tiene dinámicas diferentes de sus principales competidores, que pueden ser pues, Orpea y Corian, que como veis están muy penalizados. La compañía es interesante, cotiza muy barata. Yo creo que la compañía ya ha encontrado un suelo, y esto no es una recomendación, y pues con esta nueva dinámica que tiene el management, con esta política retributiva que están implementando, con esta nueva visibilidad, mejorando la web, que como ha comentado Damien, lo podremos ver en próximas semanas, pues yo creo que es interesante. Por tanto, a partir de ahora vosotros tenéis que hacer el trabajo de research. Probablemente, no sé si mañana o igual en el directo de la próxima semana, pues comentaremos un poco más en detalle esta compañía, que yo creo que es interesante. Es una compañía típica valor, o sea, yo la categorizaría como típica valor, ¿no? En la medida en que analizas la oferta y la demanda, la oferta está constreñida, la demanda es positiva y creciente, por tanto, eso debe tensionar los precios al alza. En la medida en que la inflación se modere, ya habéis escuchado que van a subir precios un 5% en 2024, por tanto, me parece muy interesante. Mañana, recordar, vamos a hablar de oro. Es una demanda, una propuesta que me habían hecho pues, los suscriptores del canal. Hablaremos de oro y esta vez, para salir de lo habitual, hablaremos de compañías grandes, no hablaremos de compañías pequeñas. Por tanto, hablaremos de qué esperar del movimiento del oro, hablaremos de Barrick y Newmont y probablemente hablemos también de dos compañías de royalties de oro, dos o tres grandes como Franco-Nevada, Weapon Metals y Royal Gold, ¿vale? Pero la idea es centrarlo en compañías como Newmont y Barrick, que en este nuevo escenario de precios superiores y ASICs, o sea, costes a la baja, pues puede ser interesante. Ya sabéis que el día 27 de marzo a las 8 y en riguroso directo, y no va a ser en YouTube, hay una sesión informativa de la 6ª edición del curso avanzado que viene con muchas novedades. Creo que es importante que el que tenga interés en hacer un curso lo escuche, porque va a haber unas propuestas y unas novedades que no va a encontrar en ningún otro curso. Y las novedades se separan en dos grupos. Una es muchos más modelos, mucha más explicación de cómo modelizar diferentes sectores e industrias y también diferentes temáticas. Es decir, en este curso se explica cómo valorar una compañía de calidad con ponder estable, pero también se explica cómo valorar un banco, cómo valorar una compañía de valor, cómo valorar un dip cyclical, un holding, un rate. El objetivo es que el alumno sea capaz de valorar cualquier empresa, sea cotizada o no, independientemente del sector. Y aparte de esto, viene novedades porque el curso es mucho más personal. Lo que sucede en la mayoría de los cursos, y no lo digo yo, sino lo dicen los alumnos que tengo en el curso, es que no son cursos personales. Son cursos muy masificados, con mucha gente, donde realmente no hay una relación directa entre profesor y alumnos. Esta edición viene mucho más personal. Ya os avanzo que tengáis a vuestra disposición un micro, porque va a haber apertura de micros. La gente no solo va a poner una pregunta en el chat, sino va a haber micro. Van a haber tutorías que ya las había, pero va a haber tutorías personalizadas al final del curso, y eso creo que es una gran diferencia respecto a la oferta de otros cursos, ¿no? Por tanto, en general, mayor contenido, mayor valoración. Como veis, estoy acostumbrado a hablar con las compañías, os lo traigo en YouTube, pero también lo podéis seguir en Twitter. Llevo 20 años hablando con todas las compañías que os podéis imaginar. Por tanto, dentro del curso también se traslada y voy a incidir más en eso, en qué es lo importante, qué es lo que hay que entender pues cuando leéis, por ejemplo, la carta de resumen anual de un CEO, cuando lo escucháis, cuando veis una entrevista. Esto es muy relevante, sobre todo la inversión en pequeñas. Por tanto, esto es otra novedad que vais a tener, ¿no? Por tanto, agruparía las novedades entre muchos más modelos, más sectores, más compañías, un curso más personal con tutorías personalizadas donde yo respondo todo, donde no responde alguien por mí. Por tanto, un curso muy personal. Evidentemente, un curso personal no puede reduce el número de alumnos en el curso. Por tanto, el que quiera apuntarse, yo le invito a que no se espere demasiado, porque las plazas aquí son limitadas, son pocas y se puede quedar sin plaza. ¿Vale? Pero todo esto lo explicaré el día 27 de marzo a las 8 en directo. Repito, os tenéis que inscribir en el enlace que tendréis en este vídeo, en la descripción y que también tenéis pues en Twitter o en LinkedIn o en mi perfil de Twitter lo podéis encontrar o hay diferentes tweets, ¿vale? Repito, ya hay bastante gente apuntada, por tanto, si tienes claro que quieres mejorar tu nivel, recuerda que es un curso avanzado. Si no tienes conocimientos de contabilidad de finanzas, no te apuntes a este curso porque no lo vas a aprovechar, pero si tienes unos mínimos conocimientos de contabilidad de finanzas y realmente quieres valorar como un profesional las compañías, pues este es tu curso. Por tanto, os invito a que os inscribáis en este enlace que está en la descripción y mañana nos vemos en el directo de YouTube a las 7:45. Hablaremos de oro, estará muy interesante. Un saludo a todos, buenas tardes, hasta luego.